You know that moment when you discover your husband's affair partner has been running a whole romantic Ponzi scheme and you're just one of her many victims? Yeah, welcome to my Thursday evening in March. I'm Addison Cruz, 29 years old, and apparently the world's most naive social media manager, which is saying something considering I literally get paid to detect fake online personas for a living. 4 years of marriage to Cole, 6 years together total, and I thought the biggest red flag in our relationship was his obsession with craft beer and fantasy football. Turns out, while I was worrying about his IPA addiction, he was getting addicted to something way more toxic, a walking disaster named Paige Bennett. But here's where it gets deliciously twisted. See, I discovered Cole's little side adventure the same way every modern wife does, through the sacred art of phone snooping. Last Tuesday, while he was in the shower singing off-key to some 80s rock anthem, his phone buzzed with a text that made my blood pressure spike faster than a Red Bull chaser. "Can't wait for our weekend getaway, baby. Reed thinks I'm at my sister's again." Now, any reasonable person would confront their cheating spouse immediately, right? Wrong. Any reasonable person doesn't have my particular skill set. When you spend 40 hours a week creating social media strategies and hunting down fake influencers, you develop a very specific type of investigative paranoia. So instead of throwing his phone against our farmhouse-style subway tile backsplash, I did what any self-respecting digital stalker would do. I went full FBI mode. Within 3 hours, I had Paige Bennett's entire digital footprint mapped out like a crime scene. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, even her forgotten MySpace account from college, because yes, some of us remember the dark times before Instagram filters. And that's when I discovered something that made Cole's betrayal look like amateur hour. Miss Paige Bennett wasn't just destroying my marriage, she was running a whole operation. This woman had more fake stories than a politician during election season. Her Instagram showed cozy date nights with someone whose hands definitely weren't Reed's. Wrong watch, different ring. Her Facebook check-ins placed her in 3 different cities on the same weekend. Her LinkedIn claimed she was a lifestyle consultant, which apparently is code for a professional relationship wrecker. But the real gold mine was her Pinterest boards. Because nothing says, "I'm planning to steal your husband," quite like a secret board titled "Future Dream Home with My Soulmate," featuring a suspiciously specific wish list that matched my husband's salary range down to the ceramic tile preferences. Now, Cole isn't exactly criminal mastermind material. The man once spent 20 minutes looking for his glasses while wearing them, so I figured tracking his movements would be easier than finding parking at Whole Foods on a Sunday. And boy, was I right. His work trips to Dallas lined up perfectly with Paige's mysterious sister visits. His sudden interest in weekend hiking matched her nature photography phase. His random Tuesday night gym sessions coincided with her book club meetings, which, for the record, no book club meets at the Marriott downtown. But here's where my professional stalking skills really paid off. While digging through Paige's social connections, I noticed something fascinating. Her comment history showed suspiciously flirty exchanges with not 1, not 2, but 3 different men. Cole was there, obviously, leaving heart-eye emojis like a lovesick teenager. But there was also Reed Bennett, her actual husband, commenting sweet anniversary messages. And then there was Marcus Sullivan, some divorced finance guy who seemed to think Paige was his exclusive girlfriend based on his very public declarations of love every Friday night. The beautiful irony? Each man thought he was her one and only, while she was playing musical boyfriends better than a country song. Cole believed her husband was emotionally distant, and they were separating. Reed had no clue about any affairs because Paige convinced him her late nights were work emergencies. And Marcus thought Reed was just her controlling ex who wouldn't finalize their divorce. It was like watching a soap opera, except I wasn't eating popcorn. I was planning the season finale. See, most wives would march straight to a divorce lawyer or throw clothes on the lawn like some suburban revenge fantasy. But I'm not most wives. I'm a social media professional who understands the power of narrative control and public accountability. Plus, I had something none of these men knew about. I had all their contact information, their schedules, and most importantly, their pride. The plan started forming Tuesday night while Cole was snoring next to me, probably dreaming about his double life. By Wednesday morning, I had a group chat going with myself titled Operation Triple Play and a color-coded spreadsheet tracking all 3 relationships. By Wednesday afternoon, I had confirmed that Paige was seeing Marcus every Friday, Cole every Tuesday, and maintaining her marriage with Reed every other day of the week. The woman was running a tighter schedule than a NASCAR pit crew, and somehow making it work through sheer audacity and an impressive collection of fake family emergencies. But Friday afternoon, while reviewing Paige's latest Instagram story about missing her girls' weekend in San Antonio, the same weekend Cole told me he was visiting his college buddy in Dallas, I realized this situation called for something bigger than a simple confrontation. This called for a dinner party. Not just any dinner party, the kind of dinner party that would make Thanksgiving family drama look like a peaceful meditation retreat. The kind where all the guests arrive thinking they're the guest of honor and leave knowing they were just players in someone else's game. Because if Paige Bennett wanted to play house with multiple families, I was going to give her the family reunion of a lifetime. Saturday morning arrived with Cole announcing he had to handle some client emergencies, which, thanks to my newfound detective skills, I knew meant handling Paige's emergencies in whatever hotel room she'd booked for their weekend rendezvous. He kissed my forehead with the same lips that had been whispering sweet lies to his side piece, grabbed his overnight bag, and headed off to what he thought was his secret life. Poor guy had no idea his secret life was about to become a very public spectacle. While he was playing house with Austin's most creative cheater, I was diving deeper into the Paige Bennett rabbit hole. And let me tell you, this woman was more twisted than a pretzel factory. Her text message patterns alone deserved a psychology thesis. She had different texting personalities for each man, flirty and spontaneous with Cole, domestic and supportive with Reed, mysterious and sultry with Marcus. It was like watching 3 different actresses play the same role. The screenshots I'd managed to collect were better than reality TV. With Cole, she was the adventurous free spirit who wanted to travel the world and break free from her suffocating marriage. With Reed, she was the devoted wife planning their dream kitchen renovation and discussing baby names. With Marcus, she was the wounded divorcee slowly learning to trust again after her abusive ex-husband, who, plot twist, was actually Reed, the same man she was picking out baby names with. But the real masterpiece was her social media game. This woman had compartmentalized her Instagram stories better than the CIA compartmentalizes classified information. She had close friends lists for each relationship, custom highlights that told different life stories, and location tags that created 3 separate versions of her reality. Her hiking adventures with Cole never overlapped with her cozy date nights with Marcus or her romantic staycations with Reed. I spent Saturday afternoon creating what I lovingly called my evidence portfolio, a comprehensive breakdown of Paige's lies that would make a fraud investigator weep with joy. The woman had told Reed she was lactose intolerant to avoid his favorite pizza place, told Cole she was allergic to shellfish to skip Marcus's favorite sushi spot, and told Marcus she was gluten-free to dodge Reed's weekly pasta nights. She was basically living 3 different dietary restrictions to keep her dating schedule from colliding. But here's what really got my blood boiling: the financial manipulation. While digging through her Venmo transactions, I discovered she was double-dipping on expenses like a pro. She'd get Marcus to pay for her gym membership as a health journey we're taking together, convince Cole to cover her car payments as helping her escape her controlling husband, and have Reed handle her credit card bills because they were building their future together. The woman was crowdfunding her lifestyle through emotional manipulation. Sunday morning brought a text from Cole about extending his trip another day due to client complications. At the same time, Paige's Instagram story showed her having brunch at that trendy spot on South Lamar with someone whose hands were definitely not Reed's. Wrong wedding ring, different watch, masculine fingers with a college class ring that matched Marcus's LinkedIn profile photo. The audacity was breathtaking. She was having weekend brunch with victim number 3 while texting victim number 1 about their amazing night together, all while her actual husband was probably at home meal prepping for their week together. That's when I decided the dinner party needed to be more than just an ambush. It needed to be a masterclass in consequences. Monday morning, I started making calls. First, I reached out to Reed using a fake Instagram account, posing as someone who'd found his wife's lost phone at a coffee shop downtown. We arranged to meet Tuesday afternoon at that same trendy brunch spot where I'd seen Paige with Marcus. The conversation was enlightening. Reed spent 20 minutes gushing about his amazing wife, who was so dedicated to her career and family that she barely had time for herself. He was planning a surprise anniversary trip to make up for all her hard work and sacrifice. Meanwhile, Marcus was easier to reach directly. I called his office Wednesday morning, claiming to be planning a surprise party for our mutual friend Paige and needing to coordinate with all the important people in her life. Marcus was thrilled to help plan something special for his girlfriend, who'd been so stressed about her ongoing divorce proceedings. The pieces were falling into place beautifully, but I needed one more element to make this dinner party truly unforgettable. So I did what any modern woman seeking justice would do. I called Paige directly. "Hi, Paige. This is Addison Cruz, Cole's wife," I said with the sweetest voice I could muster. "I know this might sound strange, but I'd love to meet you properly. Cole speaks so highly of you as his work colleague, and I thought it would be nice to have you over for dinner this Saturday. Nothing fancy, just a chance to get to know the woman my husband spends so much time with professionally." The silence on the other end was delicious. I could practically hear her brain scrambling to figure out what I knew and how much trouble she was in. "Oh, Addison, that's so sweet of you, but I'm not sure—" "I insist," I interrupted, channeling every passive-aggressive Southern belle I'd ever met. "Saturday at 7. I'll text you our address. And Paige, feel free to bring Reed. I'd love to meet your husband, too. Cole mentioned what a lovely couple you make." Another pause. This one lasted so long, I wondered if she'd hung up. I'll check our schedule," she finally managed. "Perfect. Oh, and Paige? It's going to be such a special evening. I have a feeling it'll be one none of us will ever forget." After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen, surrounded by my color-coded planning sheets and evidence folders, and smiled for the first time in weeks. Because Saturday night wasn't just going to be dinner. It was going to be the series finale of Paige Bennett's triple life, and I was going to be the executive producer, director, and star of her downfall. Thursday morning brought a text from Paige that was poetry in passive-aggressive form. "Addison, so lovely to hear from you. Reed and I would love to join you for dinner Saturday. Thank you for thinking of us. Looking forward to meeting you properly." The woman was still playing her game, probably convinced she could charm her way through one dinner with the wife of her side piece. She had no idea she was walking into her own intervention. Meanwhile, Cole returned from his business trip Wednesday night glowing like a man who'd just discovered the fountain of youth. He spent Thursday morning humming while making coffee and actually complimented my hair, something he hadn't done since our second anniversary. Guilt makes men do strange things. But watching him practice being a better husband while planning his next affair was like watching someone rehearse their own eulogy. "Hey, babe," he said, stealing a piece of my toast. "What's this dinner party you mentioned? Saturday night?" "Oh, just having some new friends over," I replied, not technically lying. "You know that colleague of yours, Paige, and her husband, Reed? I thought it would be nice to socialize outside of work circles." The coffee mug froze halfway to his lips. "Paige is coming here? To our house? Is that a problem? You talk about her all the time. I figured you'd be excited to introduce your work wife to your actual wife." His face went through more color changes than a mood ring. "No problem. Just surprised. She's pretty busy usually." "Oh, well, she seemed thrilled when I called. Said Reed was excited to meet us too." Poor Cole looked like he was calculating escape routes. Little did he know, the only exit strategy that would work involved a time machine and better life choices. Friday was dedicated to party planning with the enthusiasm of someone organizing a charity gala. I bought Reed's favorite wine, information courtesy of his Instagram posts about date nights with his beautiful wife. I ordered Marcus's preferred beer brand, details from his untapped check-ins that Paige had been liking for months. And for Cole, I picked up his craft beer obsession, the same IPA he'd been drinking while lying to my face for months. The menu was inspired by Paige's dietary restrictions, all of them. I prepared dishes with dairy, shellfish, and gluten, just to watch her navigate her web of fake allergies. Would she risk exposure by eating normally, or maintain her lies while insulting her hostess's cooking? The social anxiety alone would be delicious. Saturday afternoon, I transformed our dining room into what I privately called the arena. Our farmhouse table that had hosted so many happy memories was about to witness the destruction of several relationships. I set 5 place settings, one for each player in this drama, including myself. The head of the table would be reserved for the guest of honor, Paige Bennett, so she could have the best view of her audience when the show began. At 6:30, I was putting finishing touches on my makeup when Cole appeared in our bedroom doorway, fidgeting like a teenager about to meet his girlfriend's parents. "Maybe we should reschedule," he suggested. "I'm feeling a bit under the weather." "Nonsense, honey. You look fine to me. Besides, it would be rude to cancel now. Paige and Reed are probably already on their way." He looked like he might actually throw up, which would have been inconvenient for my white tablecloth, but satisfying for my soul. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 o'clock. Through the peephole, I saw Reed Bennett, tall, clean-cut, holding a bottle of wine and looking genuinely excited about meeting his wife's work friends. Behind him stood Paige, wearing a nervous smile and a dress that definitely hadn't come from her, struggling financially during the divorce wardrobe she'd described to Marcus. "Showtime," I whispered to myself, then opened the door with my biggest hostess smile. "Reed, Paige, welcome to our home." Reed was charming and genuine, immediately complimenting our front garden and asking about the succulents I'd been cultivating. Paige hung back, her eyes darting around like she was memorizing exit routes. Smart woman. Cole appeared from the kitchen, his face a masterpiece of barely controlled panic. "Oh, hey Paige, Reed. Nice to meet you, man." The handshake between Cole and Reed lasted approximately 2 seconds longer than necessary, while Paige looked like she was watching a car accident in slow motion. "Can I get everyone drinks?" I offered, already moving toward the kitchen. "We have wine, beer, or I could make cocktails?" That's when the second doorbell rang. The silence that followed was beautiful. Paige's head snapped toward the door so fast I worried about whiplash. Cole looked confused. Reed seemed mildly curious about our additional guests. "Oh, that must be Marcus," I announced casually, like I hadn't orchestrated this moment for maximum psychological impact. "I hope you don't mind, Paige, but when I mentioned we were having dinner, he was so excited to see you again. He said you two have been dating for months, and he's been dying to meet your friends." The color drained from Paige's face faster than water down a bathtub drain. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again like a fish gasping for air. Reed turned to his wife with the innocent confusion of a man who had no idea his world was about to implode. "Paige, honey, who's Marcus?" And that's when I opened the door to reveal Marcus Sullivan, holding flowers and wearing the biggest smile of a man who thought he was about to have dinner with his girlfriend and her friends. "Marcus, perfect timing. Come meet everyone. This is Reed, Paige's husband, and this is Cole, my husband." Marcus's smile faltered as he processed the word husband in relation to his girlfriend. Reed's confusion deepened as he tried to understand why his wife had never mentioned dating someone named Marcus. Cole looked like he was planning his own funeral. But Paige? Paige looked like a woman who'd just realized she was standing in quicksand, and every movement would only make things worse. "Now then," I said, closing the door behind Marcus and turning to face our complete dinner party. "Shall we head to the dining room? I have such an interesting evening planned." The dining room had never felt smaller. 5 adults stood in a circle of confusion, tension thick enough to cut with the steak knives I'd strategically placed at each setting. Marcus still held his flowers. Reed maintained his polite smile. Cole studied the floor like it contained the secrets of the universe, and Paige looked like she was mentally calculating the distance to our back door. "Please, everyone sit," I announced, gesturing toward the table. "I've prepared such a special meal for this very special occasion." Marcus, ever the gentleman, pulled out a chair for Paige, who sat down like she was accepting a death sentence. Reed took the seat to her right, Cole reluctantly claimed the spot to her left, and Marcus settled across from her. I took my position at the head of the table, facing my guest of honor. "Before we eat," I began, reaching for the manila folder I'd placed beside my wine glass, I thought we could all get to know each other better. After all, we have so much in common. Reed leaned forward with genuine interest. That's a great idea, Addison. Paige has told me so much about her work colleagues. Has she now? I smiled. Marcus, has Paige mentioned Reed before? Marcus glanced between Reed and Paige, his confusion evident. Reed? No, Paige, didn't you say your ex-husband's name was David? And that the divorce was almost final? The silence that followed was deafening. Reed's friendly expression slowly morphed into something darker as he turned to stare at his wife. Ex-husband? Reed's voice was dangerously quiet. Paige, what is he talking about? Paige's mouth opened and closed several times before she managed. There's been some kind of misunderstanding. Oh, there's been a misunderstanding, all right, I interrupted, opening my folder with theatrical flair. But it's been going on for months, and it involves everyone at this table. I pulled out the first set of photos, screenshots from Paige's social media accounts, carefully arranged to show the timeline of deception. Marcus, these are photos from Paige's Instagram account. Notice the dates. This one from last Friday shows her having brunch downtown with someone whose hands definitely aren't Reed's. Marcus studied the photos, his face growing paler by the second. These hands? They look like mine. But Paige, you told me you were visiting your sick aunt in Dallas last Friday. And Cole, I continued, producing another set of screenshots. These messages show Paige texting you about your amazing weekend getaway last month. The same weekend, Reed posted anniversary photos from their romantic staycation here in Austin. Cole finally looked up from the floor, his face a masterpiece of guilt and dawning horror. Reed snatched the photos, studying them with the intensity of a detective examining crime scene evidence. This is impossible, Reed whispered. Paige was with me that entire weekend. We went to that new restaurant on Rainy Street, visited the farmer's market. Actually, Marcus interjected, his voice growing stronger with anger. She was supposed to be with me that weekend, too. We had plans to go hiking at Zilker Park, but she canceled last minute because of a family emergency. The beautiful irony wasn't lost on me. While Reed and Marcus were discovering their shared girlfriend, Cole was realizing he wasn't even her priority affair. Paige finally found her voice. This is all a huge misunderstanding. I can explain everything. Please do, I encouraged, pulling out my phone. But first, let me share something interesting I discovered during my research. I opened Paige's Venmo account, which I'd screenshotted before she could make it private. Reed, you might find it interesting that your wife received a payment from Marcus last month labeled gym membership support. The same gym membership you've been paying for as an anniversary gift. Reed's hands clenched into fists. You told me you wanted to get in shape for our future family. And Marcus, I continued, those car payments you've been helping with, Reed's been handling those too. Apparently, Paige needed 2 different men to afford one Toyota Camry. Marcus stood up so abruptly his chair scraped against our hardwood floors. Are you telling me that this entire relationship has been a lie? Not just your relationship, I said gently. Cole, would you like to tell everyone about your Tuesday night gym sessions that coincidentally matched Paige's book club meetings? Cole looked like he wanted to disappear into our farmhouse floorboards. Addison, Save it, I cut him off. We'll deal with our marriage privately. Right now, I think Reed and Marcus deserve the truth about the woman they've been supporting financially and emotionally. Paige finally exploded. You have no right to interfere in my personal life. These relationships are complicated. Complicated? Reed's voice cracked with betrayal. We're married, Paige. We've been planning our future, talking about kids, and you've been... He gestured helplessly at Marcus and Cole. How long has this been going on? Marcus consulted his phone, scrolling through months of messages. We've been dating for 8 months. She told me she was separated and waiting for her divorce to finalize. 8 months? Reed stood up now, too. 8 months ago, we were picking out paint colors for the nursery we wanted to build. The devastation in Reed's voice was heartbreaking, but the fury building in Marcus's expression was something to behold. Here was a divorced man who'd trusted again, only to discover he was the other man in someone else's marriage. And Cole, I added, because everyone deserved equal humiliation. How long has your work friendship been crossing professional boundaries? 6 months, he mumbled, still avoiding eye contact with everyone. Reed turned to Paige with the cold fury of a man whose entire world had just imploded. 6 months of lying to my face. 8 months of stealing from Marcus. 4 years of marriage that apparently meant nothing to you. Paige tried one last desperate play. Reed, baby, you don't understand. These relationships, they don't mean anything. You're my husband. You're the one I chose. Chose? Marcus laughed bitterly. You chose all of us. That's the problem. That's when I delivered the final blow. Actually, gentlemen, there's one more thing you should know. Paige, would you like to tell them about the Pinterest board titled Future Dream Home with My Soulmate? The one that features 3 different wedding dress styles and vacation destinations that match each of your individual bucket lists. The collective intake of breath was audible. Paige's face went from red to white to green in a matter of seconds. Reed stood up slowly, his movements controlled but his voice shaking with rage. I want you out of our house tonight. I want you gone, Paige. We're done. Marcus was already heading for the door. 8 months of my life. 8 months of supporting someone who was playing house with 3 different men. Cole remained seated, probably calculating his own impending doom. Gentlemen, I called as Reed and Marcus prepared to leave. I'm truly sorry you got caught in her web. You both deserve so much better than this. Reed paused at our front door. Addison, thank you. I know this wasn't easy, but thank you for opening our eyes. After they left, I turned to face my remaining dinner guests. My cheating husband and his sociopathic affair partner. Well, I said, sitting back down at our dining table, I'd say that was the most successful dinner party I've ever hosted. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my newly redecorated living room, the one that used to showcase our shared taste, but now reflects my actual personality, instead of whatever compromise kept Cole comfortable. And I can't help but marvel at how quickly a person's entire world can flip from nightmare to dream come true. The aftermath of my dinner party was more satisfying than a perfectly crafted Instagram revenge post going viral. Cole moved out within the week, taking his craft beer collection and leaving behind 4 years of marriage that turned out to be worth about as much as his fantasy football trophies. Our divorce proceedings have been refreshingly straightforward, mainly because his guilt made him agreeable to my very reasonable demands. Amazing how adultery affects one's negotiating position. Paige, on the other hand, discovered that karma has an excellent sense of timing and a wicked sense of humor. Reed filed for divorce immediately, and apparently Texas community property laws aren't particularly sympathetic to cheating spouses who've been funding their affairs through marital assets. Her carefully constructed social media presence crumbled faster than a house of cards in a hurricane once Reed started posting his own version of events. Turns out, when you've been catfishing multiple men through strategic Instagram stories, having your actual husband expose your timeline inconsistencies is social media suicide. The beautiful irony? Marcus, who I genuinely felt bad for, ended up being the one who helped Reed navigate the divorce proceedings. They bonded over their shared experience of being financially and emotionally manipulated by the same woman. Last I heard, they're planning a guy's trip to Colorado. A friendship born from mutual betrayal that somehow became something positive. There's a Hallmark movie in there somewhere, though probably not one they'd want to star in. But here's what I learned about revenge, justice, and the beautiful art of letting people destroy themselves with their own choices. The best revenge isn't elaborate schemes or dramatic confrontations. It's simply exposing the truth and letting natural consequences do their work. See, I could have chosen the typical scorned wife route. Keying cars, burning clothes, dramatic social media posts that make you look as unhinged as the person who wronged you. Instead, I chose something far more devastating. I gave everyone involved exactly what they claimed to want. Cole wanted his freedom and his affair partner? Done. Paige wanted multiple relationships with no accountability? She got to experience the consequences of that choice. Reed and Marcus wanted honest partners? Now they know what dishonesty actually costs. The really twisted part is how much my life improved once I stopped trying to save a marriage that was already dead. That social media management business I'd been running on the side? Turns out, when you're not spending your emotional energy managing a lying husband's guilt and scheduling around his secret affairs, you have a lot more bandwidth for actual success. I've tripled my client base, moved into a sleek downtown Austin office space, and discovered that my investigative skills make me incredibly valuable to other women who suspect they're being gaslit. My new tagline? Digital Detective Services. Because your gut instincts deserve evidence. It's amazing how many women need help confirming what they already know, but have been convinced to doubt. The house feels different now, lighter, like I've been holding my breath for years and can finally exhale. I've painted over the beige compromise walls with colors I actually love, replaced the furniture that prioritized his comfort over my taste, and turned his home office into a meditation space where I practice the lost art of trusting my own instincts. Cole still texts occasionally, usually late at night when I assume his reality without the cushion of a double life has fully sunk in. The messages range from pathetic apologies to desperate requests, to talk things through like adults. I've perfected the art of leaving him on red, which is somehow more satisfying than any response I could craft. And Paige? Last I saw on her Instagram, because yes, I still occasionally check for entertainment purposes, she's moved back in with her parents in Oklahoma and is posting inspirational quotes about new beginnings and finding yourself after trauma. The comments section is notably empty, which happens when your entire social network discovers you've been living multiple lives. Here's the thing about justice. It doesn't always look like what you expect, and it rarely happens on your timeline. But when you stop trying to control other people's choices and start focusing on your own responses, the universe has a funny way of sorting things out exactly as they should be. I used to think my biggest mistake was trusting Cole. Now I realize my biggest mistake was not trusting myself when every instinct screamed that something was wrong. Women are conditioned to doubt their own perceptions, to make excuses for behavior that would never fly if we witnessed it happening to a friend. So here's my advice to anyone who thinks their partner might be living a double life. Trust that gut feeling that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. Your subconscious is an excellent detective when your conscious mind is busy making excuses for the inexcusable. And if you do discover you've been played, don't just get mad, get strategic. Because nothing says, never underestimate me again, quite like orchestrating the perfect dinner party where everyone's lies collapse under the weight of truth. After all, the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting better. And honey, I've never been better.